So, the cheap chemical stench you've been bringing home was from her, Tiwa Okoye says, her voice a blade, slicing through the cafe's hum. Her eyes lock on Daniel, her husband, and Claire, his mistress, their hands frozen mid-touch. Tiwa's red dress burns under the lights as she delivers her blow. I'm spending 300,000 today, Daniel. Don't wait up. I won't be home tonight. Daniel's face pales, his words caught in his throat. Claire's defiance crumbles, her eyes darting as she flees. Tiwa walks away, a storm unleashed. If you love this tale, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping stories. Tiwa Okoye's fingers lingered on the knife, its blade slicing through a mango with a surgeon's precision. Juice bled onto the cutting board, sweet and sharp, mingling with the faint trace of luminous on her wrists, a fragrance she'd crafted years ago, when love still felt like a vow unbroken. Her lips twitched, not quite a smile, as she arranged the fruit on a plate for Imani and Kofi. The Atlanta morning pressed against the kitchen window, sunlight splintering through the glass, catching the edges of her perfume bottles, lined like sentinels on the shelf. "Mommy, look!" Imani's voice, bright as a bell, cut through the quiet. The 8-year-old waved a crayon sketch from the living room, stick figures dancing under a rainbow. Kofi, 5 and fearless, giggled beside her, toppling a tower of blocks. Tiwa's chest warmed, but her eyes drifted to the chai luminous bottle, its amber glow dulled by time. Once, I bottled starlight for him, she thought, her pulse quickening, unbidden. The front door clicked. Daniel's footsteps echoed, heavy and deliberate, a metronome counting down her patience. She wiped her hands on a dish towel, smoothing her expression into something practiced, something a wife would wear. He entered, suit crisp, dark hair flecked with gray, his scent arriving before him, a cologne she'd chosen, now tainted by something else, something acrid, chemical, like a cheap knockoff sold at a flea market. Her nose wrinkled, a reflex she couldn't hide. "Morning?" Daniel said, voice smooth but distant, eyes already glued to his phone. He didn't look at her, didn't see the way her fingers tightened around the towel. "Rough night?" Tiwa asked, sliding a plate of toast toward him. Her tone was light, but her nails bit into her palms. A silent scream. "Why does your jacket smell like a lie?" "Long meeting," he muttered, scrolling, crumbs dusting his tie. "Big campaign coming up." He turned away, leaving her question to dissolve in the air like vapor. Tiwa busied herself with Imani's lunchbox, tucking in a star-shaped sandwich, her hands moving on the autopilot. But her eyes caught on a folded paper in his jacket pocket, left carelessly on the counter. Her breath hitched, a warning pulse. She glanced at Daniel, still absorbed in his screen, and unfolded it. A receipt from Le Ciel, a rooftop restaurant dripping with candlelight and promises, a place he'd never taken her. Her heart thudded, loud enough to drown out Kofi's giggles. He was home last night, she thought, fingers tracing the date. He said he was working late. The receipt trembled in her grip, the chemical scent from his jacket clawing at her senses. She folded it back, precise, deliberate, as if sealing a wound. "Mommy, Kofi broke my tower." Imani's indignation snapped her back. Tiwa forced a smile, kneeling beside her children. Imani's brown eyes sparkled with mock outrage, while Kofi grinned, clutching a block in each chubby hand. "Let's build a bigger one," Tiwa said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. She stacked blocks with them, each one a brick in the wall she was erecting around her heart. But the scent lingered, that vile synthetic mockery of her craft, mocking her life. Daniel stood, grabbing his briefcase. "Late for a call," he said, not meeting her eyes. "Might be home after dinner." She nodded, her smile a mask. As the door closed, her gaze landed on their wedding photo above the fireplace. She and Daniel, younger, laughing, her dress glowing under sunlight. Her fingers tightened, nails biting deeper. "You were my muse," she thought, the words bitter as bile, "and now you reek of betrayal." She crossed to the photo, lifting it from its hook. The glass was cold, the image a lie she'd believed too long. Her reflection stared back, a woman with tired eyes, jaw set like steel. She set the frame face down, the act as final as a door slamming shut. Tiwa returned to the kitchen, clearing dishes with mechanical precision. The receipt lay where she'd left it, a silent accusation. She tucked it into her pocket, her mind racing, piecing together fragments like notes in a perfume formula. Gather evidence, assess the damage, plan the incision. She didn't know what came next, but she knew one thing: she wouldn't break. Imani's laughter rang out, Kofi's voice joining in, a melody of innocence. Tiwa's resolve hardened, sharp as a blade. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about them, her anchors, her reason. The gilded cage of her life had cracked, and through that fracture, she glimpsed something fierce, something unbroken, herself. She paused at the sink, the water running cold over her hands. "You picked the wrong woman to betray, Daniel," she whispered to the empty room, her voice low, lethal. The chemical stench clung to her memory, a taunt she wouldn't forget. She turned off the faucet, her reflection rippling in the steel. The woman staring back wasn't the wife who'd waited. She was Tiwa Okoye, creator of Luminous, and she was ready to burn. Tiwa's fingers hovered over the laptop keys, the screen's glow casting shadows across the cluttered desk. The room, once her sanctuary filled with vials of jasmine and amber, now reeked of Daniel's presence, his papers, his coffee mug, his lies. Her pulse thrummed, a rhythm of suspicion as she typed his password, our wedding day, the irony bitter on her tongue. The laptop hummed to life and she clicked into his email, her breath shallow, as if inhaling too deeply might summon that chemical stench again, that vile synthetic mockery clinging to his jacket. "What are you hiding, Daniel?" Her thoughts hissed, sharp as a blade. The inbox loaded, a cascade of work emails, but one caught her eye. A confirmation from the Indigo, a boutique hotel on Atlanta's outskirts. "Reservation for 2, Mr. Daniel Harper, Saturday." Her stomach twisted. Saturday. He said he was at the office. Her fingers trembled, but she clicked further, driven by a need as primal as hunger. The receipt from Le Ciel burned in her pocket, its edges crumpling under her restless touch. She pulled it out, smoothing it flat, the date glaring. Last Saturday. Her mind stitched the pieces together. His late nights, his distracted glances, the acrid scent that insulted her very craft. A cheap knockoff, like something peddled at a flea market. Her nose wrinkled at the memory, her skin prickling with disgust. She'd spent years blending notes of oud and rose. Now, her husband's betrayal smelled of bargain bin fraud. She opened Instagram, fingers flying over the keys. Daniel's account was sparse, but his following list betrayed him. Claire Monroe. Tiwa clicked, and there she was, blonde, sharp-cheeked, smiling in a photo at Le Ciel, her dress clinging like a second skin. The caption read, "Evening to remember with someone special." Tiwa's chest tightened, her breath catching as if the air had thinned. The date matched. The pieces fit too neatly. "You thought I wouldn't notice?" Her thoughts seethed, her jaw clenching so tight her teeth ached. She leaned back, the chair creaking under her weight, and closed her eyes. Memories flooded. Late nights in her studio. Daniel's hand on hers as she mixed Luminous, his voice promising forever. Now, forever smelled like a lie, like that chemical stench she couldn't unlearn. A soft thud broke her reverie. Kofi, napping on the couch, had dropped his stuffed lion. Tiwa rose, her movements mechanical, and tucked the toy beside him. His small chest rose and fell, his curls damp against his forehead. She brushed a lock away, her fingers lingering. I gave up everything for you, she thought, not to Kofi, but to the life she'd built, the campaign she'd declined, the contract she'd let slip, all for Daniel's promises, for this family. Her throat burned, but no tears came, not yet. She returned to the desk, the laptop screen still open to Claire's profile. Another photo, Claire laughing, a glass of wine in hand, the Atlanta skyline behind her. Tiwa's eyes narrowed, her mind racing like a perfumer balancing notes. Hotel, restaurant, that scent. She didn't have the full formula yet, but the evidence was mounting, each clue a drop in a vial of truth. Mommy? Imani's voice, soft and curious, came from the doorway. Tiwa snapped the laptop shut, her heart lurching. Her daughter stood there clutching a sketchbook, her brown eyes, so like Tiwa's, searching. Hey, Star, Tiwa said, forcing warmth into her voice. She knelt, smoothing Imani's braids. What's in that book today? Imani flipped it open, revealing a drawing of a flower garden. For you? She said, shy pride in her smile. Tiwa's chest ached, a different kind of pain. She hugged Imani close, inhaling the clean scent of her strawberry shampoo, a fleeting anchor. It's beautiful, Tiwa whispered, her voice catching. You're why I won't break. She stood, tucking the receipt deeper into her pocket, its weight a reminder of the fight ahead. Her phone buzzed. Daniel, a text. Running late again. Don't wait up. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her fingers hovering over the screen. She wanted to type, "Who's with you?" But no, not yet. She deleted the draft, her nails clicking against the glass. Tiwa paced to the window, Atlanta's midday hum filtering through. The city pulsed below, alive, indifferent to her unraveling. You think you can hide this, Daniel? Her thoughts were a blade, sharpening with each step. She wasn't the girl who'd once blended scents to please him. She was Tiwa Okoye, creator of empires, and she'd sniff out his secrets like a bloodhound. She turned back to the desk, her eyes landing on an old vial of bergamot oil, dusty but unopened. Her fingers brushed it, the glass cool, familiar. I built a world once, she thought, her pulse steadying. I can burn one down. The chemical scent lingered in her memory, a taunt, a challenge. She wouldn't confront him yet. She'd gather more, wait for the perfect moment to strike. Imani called from the living room. Mommy, Kofi's awake. Tiwa exhaled, tucking the vial back. She crossed to her children, kneeling to hug them both, their warmth grounding her. The receipt in her pocket felt heavier. The email's glow still burned in her mind. This isn't over, she vowed silently, her arms tightening around Imani and Kofi. The storm was coming, and she'd be its architect. Tiwa's heels clicked against the polished floor of the Buckhead Café, each step a drumbeat of resolve. Her red dress clung to her curves, a deliberate choice, its vibrant hue a rebellion against the gray fog of betrayal. The air hummed with espresso and whispered conversations, but her eyes locked on the corner table where Daniel sat, his hand grazing Claire Monroe's. The sight was a blade, slicing through the last threads of doubt. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her shopping bag, Gucci bought an hour ago, the first note in her symphony of defiance. She inhaled, and there it was, that chemical stench, sharp and synthetic, wafting from Claire. The same flea market fraud that had clung to Daniel's jacket now draped over this woman like a cheap veil. Tiwa's nose twitched, her lips curling with disgust. You chose that for her? Her thoughts seethed, but her face remained a mask of calm, a perfumer's precision guiding her steps. Tiwa? Daniel's voice cracked as she approached, his eyes widening, caught mid-laugh. Claire's smile froze, her hand jerking back as if burned. Tiwa stopped, her gaze flicking between them, sharp as a scalpel. "Daniel," she said, her voice honey-smooth, laced with venom. "And Claire, is it?" She tilted her head, letting the moment stretch, her eyes pinning Claire like a specimen. "That scent you're wearing? It's fake, isn't it? Smells like something cheap, straight from a street vendor. Makes me sick." Claire's cheeks flushed, her lips parting in a gasp. "Excuse me?" she snapped, her voice high, defensive. "You're just jealous because Daniel doesn't love you anymore." Her eyes glinted with challenge, but her fingers fidgeted, betraying her bravado. Tiwa's smile didn't waver, though her pulse roared, a wildfire in her veins. Jealous? The word stung, but she let it slide, her gaze shifting to Daniel. His face paled, his mouth opening, then closing, a fish gasping for air. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a lethal whisper. "I spent $300,000 from our account today, Daniel. Bags, dresses, a Porsche test drive. Felt good. Oh, and don't wait up. I won't be home tonight." Claire's eyes widened, her chair scraping as she stood, clutching her purse. "You're insane," she hissed, but her voice trembled, her defiance crumbling. She turned and fled, her heels clattering, the synthetic stench trailing her like a ghost. Tiwa watched her go, her heart pounding with a strange, exhilarating triumph. "Tiwa, wait!" Daniel started, reaching for her arm. She stepped back, her eyes cold, cutting through his plea. "It's not what you think, not what I think." Her laugh was sharp, a blade slicing the air. "Your lies stink worse than her perfume." She turned, the shopping bag swinging lightly, and walked out, the cafe's chatter fading behind her. Her phone buzzed as she reached the sidewalk. Daniel's text, "Please let me explain." Her thumb hovered, then deleted it, the motion as final as a door slamming shut. The Atlanta sun blazed, warming her skin, but her blood ran hot with fury and freedom. She slid into her car, the leather cool against her thighs, and gripped the wheel, her knuckles whitening. "You thought you could break me?" Her thoughts were a storm, each one lightning sharp. She'd seen them together, felt the weight of their betrayal, but she hadn't shattered. Instead, she'd struck first, her words a poisoned dart. Her phone buzzed again, another text from Daniel. "I'm sorry, Tiwa. Let's talk." She scoffed, tossing the phone into her purse. Sorry doesn't erase your hands on her. The memory of Claire's taunt, "He doesn't love you anymore," clawed at her. But she pushed it down, her jaw clenching. She wasn't the jealous wife. She was Tiwa Okoye, creator of Luminous, and she'd burn their world to ash before she let them define her. She drove, the city blurring past, her mind replaying the scene. Claire's faltering bravado, Daniel's stunned silence. They'd underestimated her, and that was their mistake. Her fingers brushed the shopping bag, the rustle of tissue paper grounding her. Each purchase was a brick in the wall she was building, a fortress against his lies. At a red light, she glanced at the rearview mirror, catching her reflection. Her eyes were fierce, alive, no longer the tired wife who'd waited. "I'm done waiting," she thought, her lips curling into a half smile. The light turned green and she accelerated, the engine's purr echoing her resolve. She pulled into a parking lot, her phone buzzing again. Daniel, relentless. "You're making a mistake," his text read. Her laugh was low, bitter. "The mistake was trusting you." She deleted it, her fingers steady, and stepped out, the shopping bag heavy in her hand. The city pulsed around her, alive with possibility, and she felt it, a spark, a scent of something new, something hers. "You picked the wrong woman," she thought, her heels striking the pavement like sparks. The chemical stench lingered in her memory, a taunt she'd turn into a weapon. She wasn't broken, she was kindling, ready to ignite. And when she did, Daniel would choke on the ashes. Tiwa's fingers grazed the silk of a Dior dress, its fabric cool and defiant against her skin. The Neiman Marcus showroom buzzed with soft chatter, the clink of champagne flutes, but she moved through it like a storm-gathering force. Her shopping bag, already heavy with Gucci and Chanel, swung lightly, each purchase a pulse of rebellion. The chemical stench of Claire's fake perfume still lingered in her memory, a sour note fueling her fire. "You thought you could bury me, Daniel." Her lips twitched, a smirk suppressed as she handed her card to the cashier, the total climbing past 6 figures. Her phone vibrated in her purse. Daniel again, his texts piling up like unanswered prayers. "We need to talk. I'm sorry." She ignored it, her nails clicking against the counter, the sound sharp as her resolve. The cashier smiled, oblivious to the war raging in Tiwa's chest. Sorry doesn't undo your hands on her, she thought, her jaw tightening until it ached. She stepped into the Porsche showroom next, the sleek 911 gleaming under spotlights, its curves a promise of speed, of escape. She slid into the driver's seat, the leather cold against her thighs, and gripped the wheel. "Test drive?" the salesman asked, his voice eager. She nodded, her eyes glinting. The engine roared to life, a growl that matched the fury in her veins. She accelerated onto Atlanta's streets, the city blurring into streaks of light, her heart pounding with a thrill she hadn't felt in years. "This is mine," she thought, the wind whipping through the open window. "Not yours to take." Back at the showroom, she declined the purchase, for now, but the drive had ignited something. She pulled out her phone, not for Daniel's text, but to call her mother. Ngozi's face appeared on the video call, her eyes warm but piercing, even across oceans. "Tiwa, what's wrong?" Ngozi's voice cut through the static, a lifeline. Tiwa exhaled, her voice low, raw. "Daniel's cheating. I saw him with her today. I spent 300,000 of his money, Mama, and I'm not done." Her fingers tightened around the phone, her knuckles paling. Ngozi's laugh was a low, fierce thing. "You're an artist, my girl. Don't let any man dim your fire. Burn bright, Tiwa." The words sank into her, a balm and a blade, stirring memories of Lagos summers, of her mother's strength. "I will," Tiwa whispered, her throat tight. She hung up, Ngozi's words echoing like a mantra. "Burn bright." She glanced at the shopping bags, their weight grounding her, each one a step away from the cage Daniel had built. She drove home briefly, the apartment quiet, except for Imani's soft humming in the living room. Tiwa knelt beside her daughter, who clutched a sketchbook, her braids swaying as she colored. "Mommy, why's Daddy not home?" Imani's voice was small, her eyes searching, too much like Tiwa's own. Tiwa's chest constricted, a pang sharp as broken glass. She brushed a braid from Imani's face, her fingers trembling. "Daddy and I have some grown-up things to sort out, Star," she said, her voice steady despite the ache. "But I'm here, always. You and Kofi are my world." Imani nodded, leaning into her, and Kofi toddled over, wrapping his arms around them both. Their warmth anchored her, a shield against the storm. "Love you, Mommy," Kofi mumbled, his cheek pressed against her shoulder. Tiwa's eyes stung, but she blinked it away, kissing his forehead. "For you, I'll be unbreakable." Her phone buzzed again, Daniel now calling. She silenced it, her lips pressing into a thin line. Another text followed. "Tiwa, you're overreacting. Let's fix this." Her laugh was bitter, a sound swallowed by the room. "Fix this? You broke it." She stood, smoothing her dress, the red fabric a banner of her defiance. She packed a small bag for the night, leaving a note for the babysitter. "Don't wait up," she texted Daniel, her fingers swift, deliberate. "I'm busy living my life." The words felt like a vow, each letter a spark. She drove to a downtown hotel, the valet taking her keys as she stepped into the lobby, its marble cool under her heels. The concierge handed her a room key, and she rode the elevator alone, the hum of it matching the pulse in her ears. In the suite, she dropped her bags, the rustle of tissue paper loud in the silence. She crossed to the window, Atlanta's skyline glittering below, a constellation of her rebirth. Her reflection stared back, fierce, unyielding. You thought I'd crumble, she thought, her fingers tracing the glass, cool and unyielding. But I'm just beginning. The chemical stench of Claire's perfume haunted her, a reminder of Daniel's betrayal, but it was fuel now, kindling for her fire. She wouldn't confront him fully, not yet. Let him stew, let him choke on his guilt. Tiwa kicked off her heels, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. She opened a bottle of wine from the minibar, the glass cold in her hand. To freedom, she toasted silently, her lips curling into a smile that felt like a weapon. The city hummed below, and she was its heartbeat, ready to ignite. Tiwa's fingers danced over the glass vials, each clinking a note in a symphony only she could hear. The studio in East Atlanta Village smelled of lavender and sandalwood, a rebellion against the chemical stench that still haunted her memory. Her phone, propped on the cluttered desk, played soft Afro beat, Fela Kuti's rhythm pulsing like a heartbeat. She wore a loose sweater, hair tied high, her movements fluid but deliberate, as if mixing a fragrance could stitch her fractured world back together. The morning light slanted through dusty windows, catching motes of dust like stars. She swirled a dropper of vanilla essence, her eyes narrowing as she inhaled the warm, sweet vapor. Rebirth, she thought, the name of vow etched in her bones. This scent would be her phoenix, rising from the ashes of Daniel's betrayal. Her chest tightened at the thought of him, his hands on Claire, his lies reeking of that flea market fraud. She pushed it down, her jaw clenching, and scribbled a formula in her notebook, the pen scratching like a blade, carving her resolve. Her phone buzzed, the screen flashing Lena's name. Tiwa tapped the video call, and Lena's face appeared, her braids framing a grin as fierce as Atlanta's sun. Tiwa Okoye, you hiding in that studio already? Lena's voice was warm, teasing, but her eyes missed nothing. Tell me you're back to making magic. I'm trying, Tiwa said, her voice low, raw. She leaned against the desk, her fingers tracing a vial's edge. I'm calling it Rebirth, something to burn away the past. Her lips twitched, not quite a smile, the weight of yesterday's confrontation still heavy, Claire's taunt, Daniel's stunned silence. Lena's laugh crackled through the speaker. That's my girl. You were always the best. I've got distributors ready to eat up anything you make. You in? Her words were a spark, igniting a flicker of hope in Tiwa's chest. I'm in, Tiwa said, her voice steadier now, her pulse quickening. I need this, Lena, for me, for my kids. She glanced at a photo taped to the desk. Imani and Kofi, laughing in a park, their joy a tether to her strength. Then let's make waves, Lena said, her grin widening. Send me a sample when it's ready. We'll show the world Tiwa Okoye is back. Tiwa hung up, her fingers trembling as she mixed another drop, the scent blooming like a promise. But doubt crept in, cold as a shadow. What if I've lost it? Her years away from the industry, changing diapers instead of blending notes, felt like a lifetime. She inhaled deeply, the vanilla grounding her, pushing the fear back. The studio door creaked, and Imani's voice broke through. Mommy! Her daughter bounded in, Kofi trailing, clutching a rolled-up paper. Tiwa knelt, her heart lurching at their faces, so open, so hers. Imani thrust the paper forward, eyes shining. For you, you're the best. Tiwa unrolled it, a crayon drawing of her, a bottle of perfume in hand, stars swirling around her. Mommy makes the world smell good, Imani said, her voice proud. Kofi added a scribbled wave, giggling. Tiwa's throat burned, her eyes stinging as she pulled them close, their warmth melting the ice in her chest. You're my stars, she whispered, kissing Imani's forehead, then Kofi's. This is why I do it. The drawing was a lifeline, a reminder of who she was fighting for. She taped it beside their photo, her fingers lingering, her resolve hardening like steel. Her phone buzzed. Daniel again. I was wrong, Tiwa. Please, let's talk. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her fingers hovering over the screen. The words were a plea, but they reeked of desperation, not remorse. You don't get to beg now. She deleted the message, her nails clicking against the glass, the motion as final as a lock turning. She stood, returning to her vials, the scent of rebirth filling the air. Each note was a piece of her. Lavender for calm, sandalwood for strength, vanilla for warmth. She imagined it on the shelves in the hands of women who'd risen like her. Her heart pounded, a mix of fear and fire. I'm not done yet, she thought, her pen scratching faster. The studio's quiet was broken by another buzz, Daniel's name flashing. You're throwing everything away, his text read. Her laugh was sharp, a blade cutting through the silence. You threw it away first. She blocked his number, her fingers steady, her breath even. The chemical stench of his betrayal lingered in her memory, but it was fading, drowned by the promise of rebirth. She stepped back, surveying her work, the vials glinting like armor. This is my fight, she thought, her eyes blazing. She wasn't just rebuilding a fragrance. She was rebuilding herself. For Imani, for Kofi, for the woman she'd buried under years of sacrifice. The city outside hummed, alive with possibility, and Tiwa felt it. A spark, a scent of victory. She closed her notebook, the formula complete for now. Lena's words echoed, make waves. Tiwa's lips curled, a smile sharp as a blade. Daniel's lies had cracked her world, but she'd forge a new one, bottle by bottle, until it shone brighter than ever. And when she did, he'd choke on the ashes of his own making. Tiwa's heels struck the marble floor of Olivia Grant's office, each step a pulse of defiance, her suit as sharp as her intent. The Atlanta skyline loomed through the glass walls, a jagged silhouette against a bruised afternoon sky. She clutched her laptop, its weight a shield, loaded with the evidence she'd gathered like drops of venom. Emails, receipts, Claire's damning Instagram posts. Her fingers twitched, itching to crush the memory of Daniel's lies, that chemical stench of betrayal still sharpie in her mind. You thought you could outmaneuver me? Her jaw clenched, her breath hissing through her teeth. Olivia, a vision in a tailored blazer, her braids gleaming under the fluorescent lights, gestured to a chair. Sit, Tiwa. Show me what you've got. Her voice was steel-wrapped in velvet, a promise of justice. Tiwa slid the laptop across the desk, her hand steady despite the storm in her chest. She opened the files, each click a stab. Daniel's fake business trip email, the Luciel receipt, Claire's smug photo with its taunting caption. He's been lying for months, Tiwa said, her voice low, controlled, but laced with fury. And now he's trying to hide our money. Her nails dug into her palms, the pain grounding her as Olivia's eyes scanned the screen. Olivia leaned back, her lips curling into a predator's smile. He's sloppy. Tried transferring assets to a new account last week, thought he could cut you out. But this? She tapped the laptop. This is airtight. He's got no ground to stand on. Tiwa's heart surged, a mix of relief and rage. I want everything I'm owed, she said, her voice cutting like glass. For me, for my kids. He doesn't get to walk away clean. Her eyes burned, but she blinked it away, her resolve a flame that wouldn't flicker. Olivia nodded, scribbling notes. Primary custody for Imani and Kofi, fair asset division and compensation for your lost career years. We'll hit him hard. Her pen scratched, a rhythm matching Tiwa's pulse. He'll regret underestimating you. Tiwa's lips twitched, not quite a smile. Underestimate me? He doesn't know who I am. She thought of her studio, the vials of rebirth waiting to be born, each one a piece of her soul reclaimed. But Daniel's betrayal clawed at her, his hands on Claire, his lies reeking of that flea market fraud. Her fingers tightened around her purse, the receipt still there, a talisman of her fight. Back home, the apartment was quiet, the babysitter gone. Kofi toddled into the living room, his eyes wide. "Where's Daddy?" he asked, clutching a stuffed lion, his voice small but piercing. Tiwa's chest constricted, a knife twisting. She knelt, pulling him close, his warmth a balm against the ache. "Daddy's busy, little man," she said, her voice soft but steady. "But Mommy's got a story." She sat cross-legged, Imani joining them, and spun a Nigerian tale from her mother about a woman who turned sorrow into stars. Kofi giggled. Imani leaned in, their trust anchoring her. "For you, I'll win this," she vowed, her arms tightening around them. Her phone buzzed. "Daniel, again. You're making this harder than it needs to be." Her laugh was sharp, a blade slicing the silence. She pictured his face in the cafe, pale and stammering, Claire's pathetic taunt crumbling under her gaze. "Harder? You haven't seen hard yet." She deleted the text, her fingers swift, her breath even. Olivia's words echoed airtight. Tiwa stood pacing to the kitchen, her eyes landing on the face-down wedding photo. She lifted it, her reflection staring back, fierce, unyielding. "You thought you could erase me," she thought, her pulse a drumbeat of defiance. She set the frame back, still inverted, a silent rejection of the life she'd outgrown. She opened her laptop, reviewing Olivia's draft petition. The numbers were staggering. Half the accounts, the house, alimony for her sacrificed years. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, her mind racing. This isn't just about money. It's about justice. She imagined Daniel reading the papers, his world unraveling as hers had. Her lips curled, a smile sharp as a shard. Kofi's laughter rang from the living room, pulling her back. She crossed to them, kneeling to ruffle his curls. Imani's sketchbook opened to a new drawing, a family, just the three of them. Tiwa's throat burned, but she smiled, kissing their foreheads. "You're my reason," she thought, her heart swelling with a fierce protective love. Her phone buzzed again. Daniel's name, a final plea. "I can fix this." She scoffed, blocking the number, the act a guillotine's fall. The chemical stench of his betrayal lingered in her memory, but it was fading, drowned by the promise of her fight. She wasn't just a wife scorned, she was Tiwa Okoye, creator of empires, and she'd build a new one on his ruins. Olivia's email pinged, papers ready, signed tomorrow. Tiwa's fingers brushed the screen, her resolve steel. The battle was coming and she was armed. "You'll choke on your lies, Daniel," she thought, her eyes blazing. The city outside pulsed and she was its heartbeat, ready to strike. Tiwa's heels echoed in the Atlanta courthouse, each step a hammer striking steel, her breath steady, but her heart a furnace. The courtroom's wood-paneled walls loomed, heavy with judgment, but she stood tall, her suit a tailored armor. Olivia flanked her, a lioness with a briefcase, her eyes glinting with the promise of blood. Tiwa's fingers brushed the folder of evidence, emails, receipts, Claire's smug Instagram posts, each page a bullet loaded in her chamber. "You thought you could outrun this, Daniel." Her jaw clenched, the memory of his chemical-laced betrayal burning like acid. The judge's gavel fell, and Daniel took the stand, his face pale, eyes darting. "It was a misunderstanding," he stammered, his tie askew, voice thin as paper. "I never meant to hurt her." Tiwa's lips twitched, a suppressed sneer. "Hurt? You carved me open." Her nails dug into her palms, the pain a tether to her control as Olivia presented the evidence, her voice slicing through his lies like a blade through silk. "Mr. Harper transferred assets to avoid equitable division," Olivia said, her tone lethal, sliding bank records across the bench. "He planned it while misleading Ms. Okoye about his whereabouts." The judge's eyes narrowed and Daniel shrank, his excuses crumbling like ash. Tiwa's chest swelled, a wildfire of triumph, but her face remained stone, her eyes locked on him, unyielding. The ruling came swiftly. Primary custody to Tiwa, half the assets, alimony for her lost career years. Her breath caught, a release she hadn't expected, like a knot untying in her core. Daniel's head bowed, defeated, but she felt no pity, only the sharp thrill of justice. You reek of failure now, she thought, her pulse a drumbeat of victory. Back at her studio, the air was thick with sandalwood and lavender. Rebirth, nearly complete. Tiwa swirled a vial, its scent a promise of her resurrection. But her phone buzzed. A news alert. Local entrepreneur's divorce sparks financial scandal. Daniel's desperate move, leaking lies to a tabloid, claiming Tiwa misused their funds. Her blood roared, her fingers tightening around the vial until it nearly cracked. You dare? She called Lena, her voice low, trembling with rage. He's trying to ruin me, says I'm a gold digger. Lena's laugh was fierce, a warrior's call. He's digging his own grave, Tiwa. I've got contacts at the Journal. We'll bury his lies with the truth. Your comeback, your genius. Within hours, Lena's team spun the narrative, leaking Daniel's asset transfers and Claire's role, framing Tiwa as the wronged artist rising again. The tabloid story flipped, headlines now praising her resilience. Tiwa exhaled, her shoulders easing, but the fire in her chest burned brighter. She returned to Rebirth, adding a final note of amber, her hands steady, her mind sharp. The studio door opened, and Imani and Kofi bounded in, their laughter a melody against her storm. Smells pretty, Mommy, Kofi chirped, sniffing the air. Imani held up a new drawing, a woman with wings holding a glowing bottle. For your show, Imani said, her eyes bright. Tiwa's throat tightened, her fingers brushing the paper, the crayon lines a map of her strength. You're my wings, she whispered, pulling them close, their warmth drowning the echo of Daniel's betrayal. Her phone buzzed again. Daniel's final text. I'm sorry. I messed up. Her laugh was cold, a blade slicing the air. Sorry's too late. She deleted it, her fingers swift, final, as if erasing him from her soul. The chemical stench of his lies lingered in her memory, but it was faint now, overpowered by the rich, warm notes of rebirth. She capped the vial, its glass cool against her skin, and set it beside Imani's drawing, a shrine to her fight. Lena's email pinged. Press is on our side. Events sold out. Tiwa's lips curled, a smile sharp as a shard. The world would see her, not as Daniel's wife, but as Tiwa Okoye, creator of empires. She imagined him reading the headlines, choking on his failure, while she stood in the spotlight, untouchable. Imani tugged her sleeve. You're gonna be famous, Mommy. Tiwa knelt, kissing her forehead, then Kofi's, their trust a fire in her veins. For you, she said, her voice soft but fierce. For me. She stood, the vial of rebirth glinting under the studio lights, a beacon of her victory. The city outside thrummed, its pulse syncing with hers. Daniel's attempt to sabotage her had failed, his lies turned to dust by Lena's quick work and her own resilience. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, each note of rebirth a testament to her strength. You thought you could break me, she thought, her eyes blazing as she sealed the final sample. The event loomed, a stage for her triumph, and she'd walk it like a queen, leaving Daniel's ashes in her wake. Tiwa's red dress burned against the spotlight, its silk catching the glow like embers. The Atlanta hotel ballroom pulsed with energy, chatter, clinking glasses, the hum of anticipation. Her heels struck the stage, each step a declaration, her pulse a wildfire as she gripped the vial of rebirth. The scent, lavender, sandalwood, amber, wafted from the sample bottles on display, a phoenix born from her pain. Her eyes scanned the crowd, Lena in the front row, her grin fierce, Imani and Kofi waving, their faces alight with pride. This is for you, she thought, her heart swelling fierce and full. She stepped to the podium, her voice steady, resonant. Rebirth is more than a fragrance, she said, her words cutting through the room's buzz. It's a story, mine, of breaking free, of rising from ashes. Her fingers brushed the vial cool against her skin, and she inhaled, the scent drowning out the memory of that chemical stench. Daniel's betrayal distilled into a flea market fraud. The crowd leaned in, captivated, their eyes locked on her. Her gaze flickered to the back where Claire stood, half hidden in the shadows. Her blonde hair gleamed, but her eyes, sharp, defiant, met Tiwa's with a challenge. Tiwa's lips twitched, a smile sharp as a blade. You're nothing now. Claire's posture stiffened, her fingers clutching her purse, but she turned, slipping out the door, her retreat a silent surrender. Tiwa's chest surged, a rush of triumph. Run, Claire! You can't touch me, she continued, her voice rising, weaving her story into the scent. Every note is a choice, to fight, to create, to live. The crowd erupted, applause thundering, and Kofi's voice pierced through, Mommy's a superhero. Laughter rippled and Tiwa's throat tightened, her eyes stinging as she caught Imani's proud nod. My stars, she thought, her fingers trembling against the vial. Lena stood clapping fiercely, her eyes gleaming with shared victory. She'd turned Daniel's tabloid lies into fuel, spinning them into headlines of Tiwa's resilience. The memory of his sabotage, those venomous leaks about her spending, stung, but Lena's quick work had buried them, and now the world saw Tiwa as the artist reborn, not the scorned wife. You tried to ruin me, she thought, her jaw clenching, but I'm untouchable. A buyer approached post-speech, a sleek woman with a New York accent. We want Rebirth in our stores, she said, handing Tiwa a contract. Name your terms. Tiwa's pulse raced, her fingers steady as she took the pen, signing her name with a flourish. The ink felt like blood, a pact with her new self. Lena squeezed her shoulder, whispering, You did it, Tiwa. The crowd milled, critics sniffing samples, their murmurs glowing with praise. Tiwa stepped off the stage, Imani and Kofi rushing to her, their arms wrapping around her waist. You were so cool, Mommy, Imani said, her eyes wide. Kofi giggled. Smells like magic. Tiwa knelt, pulling them close, their warmth a shield against the world. You're my magic, she whispered, her voice cracking, love and strength entwined. Her phone buzzed in her clutch, but she ignored it, knowing it was Daniel. His last text, deleted unseen, had begged for forgiveness, but his words were ash now, scattered by her victory. You don't get to haunt me anymore. The chemical stench of his lies was gone, replaced by the rich, warm notes of rebirth, a scent that carried her story. Pain, defiance, triumph. She led the kids to their new apartment, a smaller space in Midtown, its walls bare but alive with possibility. Imani's drawings hung above the couch, Kofi's toys scattered like stars. Tiwa tucked them into bed, reading a story, her voice soft, steady. As they drifted off, she stood, crossing to the balcony, the city's skyline glittering below. Her reflection in the glass was fierce, unbowed, the woman she'd forged through fire. You thought you could break me, Daniel, she thought, her fingers curling around the vial of rebirth in her pocket. The city hummed, its lights a constellation of her strength. Claire's defeated retreat, Daniel's failed sabotage, the crowd's applause. They were all hers now, pieces of a world she'd reclaimed. Lena's text pinged, first orders rolling in. You're a legend. Tiwa's lips curled, a smile sharp and bright. She'd turned betrayal into art, pain into power. The vial in her hand felt like a heart, beating with her pulse. This is just the beginning, she thought, her eyes blazing. The Atlanta night stretched before her, vast and alive, and she was its flame, burning brighter than ever, ready to light the world ablaze. Tiwa Okoye rises from the ashes of her husband's infidelity, transforming pain into power. From discovering Daniel's lies, marked by a cheap chemical perfume, to confronting him and Claire with razor-sharp resolve, Tiwa reclaims her life. Through her fragrance Rebirth, she rebuilds her empire, proving her strength for her children and herself. Thank you for joining Tiwa's journey of betrayal, defiance, and triumph. Please subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories, and stay tuned for the next chapter of resilience and redemption.